The man can't earn enough money. Every day he gets beaten by his wife. Don't think he looks weak and useless. In fact, he's a top agent. He completes every mission perfectly, but he's never felt happy because he wants to be a cartoonist. However, he really has no talent in this field. He only earns a meager salary every month. He even gets scolded by netizens. Finally, after receiving another bad comment online, the man completely snapped. He turned his agent career into comics and posted them online. Then he fell asleep. When he woke up the next day, he saw the table was filled with food. The man doesn't remember what happened last night. At that moment, his wife happily celebrated with him and gently fed him a bite of rice. At first, he didn't think much of it until his wife took out her phone. On it was the comic he drew. It went viral online overnight. The man quickly ran back to his room. Only then did he realize he'd messed up. These are all state secrets. He'll get into big trouble because of this. The man hurried to find the editor-in-chief and asked him to take down the comics, but the editor-in-chief refused. He even told him to go home and keep updating. Helpless, he had to go home first. Just then, it started to rain. He remembered his daughter had gone out without an umbrella, so he went to the school gate. He saw his daughter and was about to call her. Another classmate's father arrived in a luxury car. He didn't have the courage to call his daughter. He just watched them leave silently. On the way, he fell into deep self-blame. He thought he was a useless loser, making his wife and child suffer with him. One day, the man accidentally found his daughter's diary. It said the family was poor, and she wanted to grow up quickly, to buy a big house for her parents. He couldn't hold back his tears anymore. Finally, he made a difficult decision. He would keep drawing comics based on himself. Soon, he finished the new comic. Once posted, he became popular again. The comic was not only loved by many students, but even the foreman who'd bullied him was following the updates. The editor-in-chief who once looked down on him now seemed like a different person. The man used the money he earned to buy his daughter the electronic piano she loved, but the comic's success also caught the attention of his former superior. They realized he was still alive and had committed treason, so they rushed to the construction site and surrounded the man while he was washing his face. He finds that he has been exposed. His aura suddenly turned fierce. Even though he hadn't practiced for a long time, his skills were still sharp. With just a few casual moves, he knocked down most of the agents. The rest were no match for him. Coincidentally, the bullying foreman was there too. The man walked toward him with a smile. Then he unleashed a flurry of punches. He quickly rushed home, called his wife, and told her about his identity as an agent. Of course, his wife didn't believe him. She thought he was drunk again, so she angrily hung up the phone. The man just wanted to go on vacation, but found that the flight he was taking was flight 1015. Today happened to be October 15th, and the plane's departure time was also delayed until 10:15. All this was too much of a coincidence. The man felt a trace of unease. He kept looking around, but didn't notice anything unusual. As he sat in his seat nervously, he suddenly found a radio. It was predicting a plane crash, and the accident plane was exactly flight 1015. Out of curiosity, he put on the headphones to listen to what was being said. The radio mentioned that there would be a heavy rain outside the window soon, and that contact with the ground would be lost in an hour. At first, David didn't pay much attention. Unexpectedly, as the plane took off, it really started to rain heavily outside the window. At this time, the radio continued to broadcast, saying that the plane would hit a flock of birds soon. David didn't believe it, because the plane was in the clouds now, and there couldn't be any birds. Unexpectedly, the next second, he finally believed everything the radio said, thinking that the plane would crash in an hour. David kept comforting himself, hoping to calm down. When he came out of the bathroom, the plane had returned to its usual calm, but he was still a little uneasy. So he pressed the call button to call the flight attendant over. He asked if the plane had hit a flock of birds just now. The flight attendant looked very confused after hearing this, thinking that David was having hallucinations, and then left without hesitation. At this time, there was a sound from the seat behind. The man behind was named Mike. He had been a captain of this airline before. Even if there was an accident on the plane, the crew would not tell the passengers. David became very nervous after hearing this. He put on the headphones and continued listening. The plane would disappear at 11:50, and it was already 10:30. He realized that he couldn't just sit and wait for death, so he started looking for clues in the cabin, trying to prevent the upcoming crash. At this moment, he suddenly saw someone playing with a mobile phone. David hoped they would stop, but the other person thought he was crazy. Long-distance planes are equipped with wireless networks, which would not affect flight safety at all. The argument attracted the flight attendant. After getting her confirmation, David had to leave helplessly. He continued to listen to the information on the radio, which mentioned that after the captain said "Good night, New York," the plane would disappear completely. At this time, the captain came over. Seeing that David still hadn't returned to his seat, he dragged him aside. The captain thought he was unwell. However, David insisted that the captain should not say "Good night, New York" later, as it was a matter of all passengers' safety.